Good morning. Late again. My report card will be saying, constantly late, could do better. If it's any consolation, I was lost in what we were going to play with this morning and suddenly realised the time. So welcome to our All Request Friday this Friday. And I was a bit late putting these up yesterday. I lost track of time. But I gave you the choice of 3 of these big background dies. So we had the mini medallions, we had the stitched lace, and we had the new plaid. In fact, see, it's so new, I don't even know the name of it. Best Plaid Builder. I had a feeling Plaid Builder was in there somewhere. So the Best Plaid Builder. So they were the 3 that we had to choose from. Morning, Jane. I have to say it was pretty head-to-head at one point, so that we didn't have an absolute massive runaway winner. The votes were spread across the board, and I'm sure we will be coming back to the others in future lives. This one I haven't even had a play with myself, so I'm sure that one will be featuring fairly soon, because there was somebody said they wanted to see how it works. Me too. We will do that perhaps next week. Perhaps we'll incorporate that into a card next week. Morning, Caroline. So the winner was the stitched lace. It is a beautiful die. And it may be that some of you have got it and were thinking, I've got that and I never use it. And that's it, isn't it? We have these little things tucked away and we forget to use them. So let's see if we can use it a little bit this morning. Let me just get rid of the excess water out of my Simply chamois so that I don't knock that inadvertently flying during the course of the morning. I was quite surprised actually. I laid some water in it before I went to bed last night thinking, well, I bet that will have soaked up in the morning, but it should be damp but not too wet. But actually it hadn't. So I think it was a little bit cooler, certainly in here overnight. And it's a little bit cooler this morning. We'll see how the day goes. So let's have a bit of a play with the lovely lace. Now, one thing I'm definitely going to need this morning is my brush. Morning, Lisa. Did I say good morning to Beryl? I hope I said good morning to you, Beryl. If I didn't, I'm saying good morning now. So we shall definitely need our brush and our little spongy mat that comes with it. And in actual fact, looking at this, there's a few little bits that I've been naughty and I've put it away and I haven't taken out. So let's just get rid of those now. That is the thing with these dies, they are beautiful, they are very ornate, but you do have to just work with them to clear them out. And obviously when I was doing this one, I probably did it on a live and just popped it to one side and then put it away without going back and clearing out the last of these little holes. So let's just pop those out. It's not the end of the world if you miss one, but if it gets too much of a build up in those little holes, of course it won't then cut your die. There we are, that's looking a bit better. And the nice thing about these mats is that those little spots and things sort of hang on to it until you knock it over the bin, which is all good. Right, so let's have a little play with this lace die. I've got a little pile of things beside me. And it is possible that we might even get as far as making 3 cards. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so my first little pile I've got here, I've got some coastal, no I haven't, Calypso Coral and some Petal Pink. So the Calypso Coral I'm going to make into my card base. I pre-cut 2 little vellum things and they're being a bit tricky. I've already lost one, I've had to cut a 3rd one. It literally was in my hand and then had gone. No idea where that went. No doubt we'll find that sort of a few days down the line. Okay, so there's our card base. Morning, Sally. Morning, Glenda. So that's, say, coastal Calypso Coral. I'm going to cut this card down to 14.4 by 10, because this we want to be our lace mat on the top, and that actually is slightly bigger than the die, so the die will completely cut out that mat just there. At least that is the plan. And actually I think what I'm going to do is, as it's sitting so nicely on there, I'm actually going to lay it in my Big Shot that way with the die up. You do sometimes get a bit more pressure that way. It's often, if you're sort of laying your die around a stamped image, it's much easier to have the die going face down on over the image so that you know you've lined it up. But if I've got a particularly delicate die, I will sometimes run it through a couple of times one way and then flip it over to run it through the other. Now let's see, I've just run that forwards and backwards, so I literally put it in my machine face up and I've run it forwards and backwards, and I think that looks, you can tell by running your eye over it, there's a spot there that I think it has cut. This is where you can see where your sort of your machines, and every machine is different, your machine's little spots where they're not quite so good, it will show them up. So let's lift that up off of there, and as we lift it, quite a few of those little bits pop out, which is all good, already looking stunning. Let's run our brush over the top of there and get rid of a few more of those bits. And then we'll go in and just poke out the last little bits. So obviously a die like this, it is, you know, you're not just going to, it's cut beautifully, we're just running it backwards and forwards. It does take a minute or two just to pop these bits out. So I've not used a precision base plate or anything on that. Some people might, but I haven't. That is just my Big Shot in raw state. I probably wouldn't use my magnetic base plate because I find that that doesn't give me quite as much pressure as my normal base plate. Morning, Wendy. So if you're just joining us, it's the stitched lace that won the vote this week. And just poking the last of those bits out. And you have to think to yourself, you couldn't, well, the idea of cutting this yourself by hand is almost mind-boggling, isn't it? But really, really pretty. It's a beautiful die. So yes, it takes a couple of minutes to cut out that fancy bit, but it is beautiful. So let's take our brush again and just run it over here. And try and get rid of most of these little bits in here. pulling a few little bits about. That's not bad, and then we're good to go again. These edge bits, I've obviously not caught it enough with the brush. Pretty good. There's just a couple of little spots there. The more you look, the more you see. So this is a pain, but it's not overly arduous. There we go. And well worth it for the results. Look at all this little confetti. Okay, so I could have cut that through with a double-sided sticky on the back. I always forget that. But we're going to just add that panel to that card on the back. And, well, you don't need much else, do you? Bit of ribbon. Happy birthday. Job's done. But we will put something else on there. So I've just grabbed the Floral Essence stamp set. Oh, let's see if I can spot any Calypso coral bits. There we go. Let's have a look. Yes, I'm going to take some Calypso coral card, and I'm going to take some Calypso coral ink, and I'm going to take this little stamp here that has the punch that goes with it. So let's just stamp a couple of these tone on tone. And we will just punch those out. Build that up slightly to make a little flower. Just going to curl these petals round with my bone folder. Got a nice sort of simple little 3D flower there. Die cut, to say some. I've used the Forever Flourishing dies, and I've cut a couple of these sort of semicircle, almost like laurel wreaths, out of some vellum. We're going to be able to tuck behind there. I might chop a bit off and just have 3, we'll see. We could do with a bit of ribbon on there. What have we got? We want something sort of no, because that's got the pink in it. Got quite a bit of petty pink. I just used up the last of some of that last week, and I haven't got any, which is really sad. with the gold trim on it. So I think we'll come in with no, I don't think it wants to be cream. How about our spotty tool? Yay! Oh, excellent. Karen, you're going to get to go away. That's good. Good stuff. And having watched all the footage from the beaches yesterday, it was a bit terrifying, really. People have just gone a bit mad. Right, and before we put that together, we're going to have a bit of a greeting in there. I think we'll have, not sure that I want anything as big as that. We'll just have this hello from the Good Morning Magnolia. I do like this stamp. I love the font on it. We will just stamp that onto Whisper White, I think. With a bit of Calypso Coral. Beautiful. So there's also a thanks in that. So I did notice yesterday that the Magenta Madness really does leave a stain on your stamps, which is not a problem. I never worry about those sorts of things. But it must have some serious pigment in it. So let's just trim that. Cut it at a bit of an angle, and we'll have that hello in there as well. Okay, so let's just pop that together. And that really is just going to let that lace be the sort of centre point. So rather than being a background feature, it is the feature. Just spotted another couple of bits that are hanging on in there. You are determined to stay. Go away, little thing. That's it. Sorry. Knocking you. Actually, it's often when you turn it round to the other side that they stand out even more. The more I look, the more I see. Another one just there. Right, I'm just going to add in some little spots of glue. That's gone a bit gunky in the end there. So warm though. I'm just going to put on little spots of glue round and about. Hi Emma. So you're going hiking tomorrow, Karen? Oh, yes. I should avoid the beaches. I expect you'll see a few people out hiking, but hopefully you've got a bit more space to keep your distance from people. Not that we want to be antisocial, you know, smile and wave. But You don't necessarily be wanting to share anything that they may have or giving them something that you might have. It's a two-way street. Okay. So there's our petal pink lace on our Calypso coral background. We'll just lay those flowers on top of each other. Got that nice little 3D flower. I'm going to pop some glue on the back here and add in these. I think this one I am going to cut, not quite in half, but I'm going to snip the end off so it is sort of coming down as a third rather than having four. About like that, I think. Fold over this bit of ribbon. We'll have that coming underneath too. So I'm going to get a bit of tape. And tape down that ribbon. And I'm going to get a dimensional. And pop that on the top. And then we're going to glue dot on the end of there because I'm not going to stick it all down. I'm going to have it so that it is a little bit popping out. Just going to use that glue dot on there. So there we have a very simple card, but it is just letting that lace do all the work in the background. You could go in and put in a couple of little pearls or something in the background there. I'll move back. Let's dig some out. I think pearls with that lace rather than rhinestones. Oh, sorry. And you could go really mad with your pearls if it was for somebody particularly special. You could have pearls in every one. We're not going to do that, go that mad this morning. But we'll put a few around. Oh, there you are. And one more. And there we are, just a little few pearls scattered around as well. So really pretty die that you can just let be the focus. It could have just been a bit of a band of a ribbon and a greeting, something like that. That's fine. Let's have a look at a different colourway. So this time I've picked Seaside Spray and white. It struck me this morning, I don't know why it's not struck me before this morning, how very Wedgwood this blue is. If any of you've got any Wedgwood pottery, very much is that sort of a colour. I've got a little Wedgwood dish somewhere. I ran out of time, otherwise I'd have gone and found it. But yes, sort of very Wedgwood blue. So I thought the blue and white would be very reminiscent of that sort of Wedgwood feel. So let's take my trimmer. I'm going to cut a piece of Seaside Spray to 14.4 by 10. And then as a starting point, I'm going to cut my piece of Whisper White. So it is 13.9 by 9.5. And then it's the white one that we are going to run through with our die. So let's centre that up. Again, I'm going to run it backwards and forwards. Couple of times with that die facing upwards. I'm just going to take it a third time just because there is that spot in the middle that looks a little bit as if it's not quite cut as well as everything else. So I just turned the die round and gave it a wiggle so it was going through at a different angle. Ooh, must have something yucky on my Big Shot mat because I've got a yucky mark on my but luckily we're going to be the other side, so hopefully that mucky mark is not going to show through. Let me just ease this off. No, I think we're okay. Squidgy mat. Yeah, I think that third run through made a difference. One just there and one just there. Okay, so far so good. And run that over there. Get rid of all those little bits. There. And of course this brush is an attachment to your pick a tool. So if you've got a pick a tool, you could also get the die brush attachment to go with it, which is very useful, particularly when you've got a die like this. Now, just panicking a bit because I can't see the other die. So in this die set there is actually two dies. So you get your big lace die and then you get this very odd looking thing just here. Now what this odd looking thing for is it lines up beautifully with the lace pattern on here and enables you to cut it down. So to start with, I'm going to take sort of two lace patterns down and die cut it across there. So there might be an argument for using your magnetic base plate with this one. But I have got a bit of low tack tape that I'm just going to put in place to hold it there as it comes through the machine. And obviously this is a fairly straight cut, it's not a delicate cut on this die, so I would think one cut will give us that beautiful lacy edge. In fact, let me lay that on there so you can see that. I'm going to do the same, turn it round, cut the top of this so that this is a lacy edge. So that's just cut the top there to give that a lacy edge. Now I'm going to need to cut this down a little bit more because what I want to do is leave a gap. So let me think. I think I will cut that across the middle of that hole just there, I think. Get the mini trimmer in. So across the first set of holes, line those up on my trimmer and take that across there. I've got that at the top, that at the bottom, and we've now got oh, there you go. It's okay because it's beautiful results. I have picked out the You Are Simply Wonderful Bloom and Grow die for this. So what I think I might do is I'm going to take this long floral image here and let me line this up on this grid paper like that. I'm going to get a pen or pencil, it doesn't matter. That will sit about there, that will sit about there. So my gap is going to be sort of there. Let's come in there. Okay, so that's what I'm aiming for with my stamping. I'm going to take the Seaside Spray ink pad that I had here somewhere, ready to go. Here it is, it's just slipped down the back. Going to stamp it off, and then I'm going to stamp it across there, so it just is really faint sort of floral image in the background there. So sort of there but not there almost. And then we will take the You Are Simply Wonderful, I think. And let's take our embossing buddy, because I think we'll do this in white embossing, just to stick to that sort of whole white and blue theme. So you simply wonderful. And let's pick up our powder. I'm heat embossing again. I keep doing this to myself, don't I? Avoid the heat embossing. That's it. Give it a good flick. There we go. So let us pop the lid on there. What have I done with my glue? Here it is. It's next to my water bottle, obviously reminding me that I ought to keep drinking water. So let us just put some little blobs on the back of here. And I'm going to need to trim that a little bit on the top, I think. That's fine. Let's just take and come through. It's quite nice actually, because you've got the little lacy pattern that you can line up. Is that enough? No, I think I'm going to take just a smidge more off. That's better. Put some blobs on there. And that's just giving you that wonderful little window, the window in the lace. And we'll put that on a white card base. Beautiful. No, it's going to have anything. It perhaps could be white, but I don't know whether it needs it. Just playing about now, as you do. Actually, that's quite pretty. It's just a very light little bow. It just needs a glue dot to pop it on. And I obviously moved that to one side because I had those, didn't I? And I've put them back on the wrong side of me. I don't know why I'm not very organised, not very laid out this morning. I think I've had too many late nights this week. But that's okay. I've still got my little sheet of kit. Glue dots left over from kits. I'm going to have that little bow in there. So again, the lace is fairly central to the design, but it does give you that bit of a, suppose that's a solid background. This is, you use that other dye to give you that lacy outline. I did see a card earlier that was beautiful, where I should imagine they'd cut the edge using this, and then they'd just had the in fact, we'll have a play in a minute before we do anything else with the next one that we cut. I will show you what I mean. I should be able to do that with that one. So let's cut this one. This time we're going to use some soft sea spray. We've kept with the subtle colours with all of these. You could of course go really mad and have foil perhaps. Vellum would be really nice. That would give you a really nice lacy pattern. Morning, Karen. So again, I've cut this to 13.9 by 9.5. Let's just run this through. And we'll go backwards and forwards. And then let's turn it round and just reposition it slightly, just to make sure that that's just hitting the rollers in a different place, just to help make sure that that's got a good all over cut, which it does look like it has. A good brush. Oh, sorry. Just about to say you don't have to be too gentle with it, and then decides to instantly beat you all up. Right. Let us just release the lace, and that might well pop some of the other bits off. There we go, really pretty. Now what I'd seen, say, somebody else do, and that's not what I'm going to do with this one, but I would imagine that she'd used her trim, because you can cut it both ways. This lace you can cut both ways. I would imagine that she'd used the trim to cut the lace so that you'd got your scalloped edge this way, and then she'd used it so you'd got your scalloped edge that way, and she'd actually got it on a card base, coming in on an angle like this. So you'd got the scalloped edge down here and the scalloped edge along there, and just this corner of lace, and it looked really, really pretty. So that was something else that you can do with this. It's not something that I've doing today, but it is something that you can do with it. But you can also, having die cut out your lace panel, there's no reason why you can't then die cut your lace panel, which is what we're going to do with this one. So we're going to take that, and I've got the largest stitched nested label there, and I obviously want to make sure that that lines up. I'm going to take it down one side, because then that will give me, I'll probably be able to cut a little lacy border out the other side then if I want to. Let's just run that through the machine. And you have got a stitched, laced panel. Isn't that pretty? Right, we'll put a little stamped image in there. Do you want to come down, I think? Let's see, I'm going to cut one of these in Whisper White and see how much of a panel it leaves me. How much we can see of the lace underneath, or whether it needs to be a slightly smaller panel. Yeah, no, I think it needs to be a smaller panel. So I will use that same bit of card and just run a smaller die through, because with these stitched nested, they don't although they don't come in as much on the sides as you come down as they do top and bottom. That's better, isn't it? You get more of that panel peeking out from underneath. Now that might mean I need to change the stamp that I was going to use with it. Well, I don't know, I might just get it on. And stamp this up with Memento. Oh, there you go, Jackie. That'll be 2 things I've sent you off to your craft room to play with this week. Oh, my job here is done. Drop the mic. Actually, I'm not sure that is my job done. My job is to be sort of, you know, finding things you haven't got so that you go, oh, order me that, Helen. Perhaps that is. Perhaps I should ask you what it is that you want to see. Which one of these that haven't you got do you want to see? Perhaps that should be my question. Right, so we've stamped on there. Our could be little sister, big sister, could be mum and daughter. However you want to go with that. But it is good, because if you buy lots and lots of things and never ever use them, then you'll come to a point where you're like, why do I keep buying these things? I never ever use them. So we do need to get you not only buying them, whether you're a demonstrator or not, or whether you're just really enjoying your hobby, whether you're a happy shopper, you do really need to be using your beautiful things. Now, I think I want to bring in a bit of soft sea foam, so I think I'm going to, rather than have this as a dress, I'm going to take that as a top and skirt. Always coloured it as a dress before, but I don't think I need to. I'll give her a soft sea foam. I do love this stamp set. We'll give her a pool party skirt. It's going to be a bit of a drop waist number. There we go. It's a pool party skirt. And the little girl we'll do her in balmy blue, just to keep those sort of blues and greens colours going. Obviously very well coordinated mother and daughter here. They check what each other's wearing every morning. To make sure they coordinate perfectly. A little light petal pink just here. Let's give her some cheeks, and also around her knees, and then I'm going to go in with the, where are you, ivory. It always looks so dark when it goes on, but it does dry much lighter. And we'll do the same for Mum. A bit of pink on her cheeks. And colour in her hands and her legs. So sometimes I've been known to sort of colour their feet different so that it looks like they've got shoes on. But I think on this occasion we'll have them a bit barefoot. I'm going to take some light So Saffron and throw it on the floor, and then once I've picked it up, just going to come in with some light So Saffron, and then add in some light crumb cake sort of highlights, just to give her a sort of a blondie feel without necessarily being bright yellow. And then Mum, I think I've got the dark crumb cake here. And we'll come in. With the light crumb cake, so that she too has got sort of some highlights going on in her hair. Let's give her a matching headband. We would assume they're on some secluded beach somewhere. They're not anywhere where there's thousands of people. They've found a really quiet beach where there's nobody else around. And I'm going to grab the light seaside spray just so that it's a different blue to what they're wearing, and we'll just come in round the edge, give them a bit of a background, otherwise they're just floating in the middle of nowhere, and we don't want that. Just is such a, you can almost see such a tender expression there. You can imagine that little girl chatting away 10 to the dozen about some sort of wonder that she's beheld, or do fairies really exist, Mum? Will we find a mermaid on the beach? Mum listening, taking it all in. I think I'm going to bring this greeting in across here somewhere, but we'll have this coming on here, which is where we started with our lacy panel. It's really pretty, isn't it? We'll have this greeting. So you don't have to use the entire lace panel as a big panel. You can bring it in and cut bits out, chop bits off. You can literally take your scissors to it and snip little bits out if you want to. It's a bit of a wonky bit of card. Let's come here in the middle somewhere. I think we'll set for a bit of a border on that. And I'm going to line it up so that it's on the 3/4 of an inch. Move that down, chop that off, and take it down a little bit either side, and then I'm going to get my my punch in, and we'll punch those ends. Pointy or flat? Let's go pointy this time. I'm going to trim that off a bit. I think we need to go a bit shorter, so let's that's better, and do the same with that end. That's it. You're somebody's blessing. What a lovely sentiment. We'll work out how that's going to go when we've got our card on. Now, shall we go Seaside Spray? I think Seaside Spray matte, and we'll have a white card base. Yeah, that's really quite pretty. So that lace border really does add in a bit of a that one we might add in some swish of that ribbon. Okay, let's stick. I think I'm going to stick this directly to the panel. Let's line that up. Then I think the panel, to take a swirl of this Seaside Spray and silver ribbon to come across the back. Oh, I keep knocking you today. I need some dimensionals. There we go. We'll pop some dimensionals on the back of there, so they're not being seen. We'll make sure that you can see the white through the back, so that you know that the dimensionals aren't going to show up through the other side, through your holes. Like that. Let's stick this panel to our card. And then we just want our greeting coming on somewhere. There, possibly. There we go. So that's using that lace just to add a bit of something else. You can imagine it. I've seen them with lace borders with like the bird ballad suite. That's really quite sweet. You can add in, you know, lace ribbons as well as lace, sort of make nice sort of vintagey cards and things. So there we are. We've used our lace background in 3 different ways. We've used it as a complete panel and had it as the feature for the card. We've used that extra die and cut out these edges and sort of made it into a card that you've got to peep through. And obviously you could have just had just the one panel with something at the top and all of those sorts of things. And then we've die cut the panel with that one. And then we also talked about that idea of having it just across a corner, which is really lovely. We might do that. Might do that another day. Might try and remember that technique for another day. So one die, one lacy background die, and lots of ways of using it. So really beautiful. So that's another week over. It's Friday again. I've got lots to try and get done today, so I'm hoping I'm going to be able to keep cool enough to function. And I will be back on Monday when we'll be playing with something else. So see you then.